Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of Health is Wealth. I am your host, Shabnam Riaz. Today we have a very, very special program indeed. It's in collaboration, and we're commemorating World TB Day 2018, a very, very important day. We're going to talk about the myths, the facts, the burden, both, in Pakistan, within the country, and internationally, globally as well. And for today's program, we have very special guests who have both achieved excellence in their particular areas of expertise. First of all, I'd like to introduce Professor Brigadier Amir Ikram, who is the Executive Director of the National Institute of Health, Islamabad, and also the National Coordinator of the Global Fund. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And seated next to Brigadier Amir is Dr. Mohammed Asai Ardkani, who is the WHO representative in the country office of Pakistan, vast experience of contribution to primary health care in Iran and Pakistan as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, so the topic today, a very, very important one. TB has something that has an association with years and years of people also living in the subcontinent. You watch any old films or something like that, and you will see a scene where there is an old lady in the corner of a room coughing away, and everybody's so upset with what's happening. There are many, many myths relating to tuberculosis. So I would just like to start with you, Brigadier Amir. What exactly is TB, and is it as much of a something to be feared that people think?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, as an expert, would label TB as not as a disease but as an entity.
Okay.
I mean, it can involve any part of the body.
Right.
And it's been there for years and years. And to start off, as you started off with the World TB Day, it reminds of Sir Robert Koch in 1882, once he discovered this bacterium by the name of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which has been there for centuries. Even from the Egyptian mummies, there has been identification of this bacterium. So you can well aware, and all parts of the world are involved. Definitely the developing countries are much beyond. There are myths, but I think in the true scientific world, we have crossed those myths. We have gone much beyond that. The diagnostics are much better. The treatment facilities are much better. So it is high time that we overcome our myths and take this disease as a challenge, because internationally it is being recognized as one of the silent killers. It's almost having a toll of 4,500 deaths per day. So which is a very,
that's a
very
huge
heavy
number.
Exactly. So it's a very heavy toll. And that's how I think the concern at the international community, not only the health, but the leaders, they've joined hands together to fight this menace altogether. And that's how the things are coming up. And the theme this year is bringing all the leaders together and fight against TB. So that's how the things are picking up the challenge, going much beyond the myth in a true scientific way.
Right. Okay, Dr. Sai, how much what is the significance of days such as these that we're commemorating World TB Day? What actually happens when you commemorate a day like this?
First of all, let me to appreciate Pakistan TV for inviting us to be here and talk with the people and leaders about importance of the tuberculosis in Pakistan. Well, tuberculosis is an infectious disease, which we call it disease of the poverty. The root causes of the tuberculosis is in poverty, is level of the understanding, is level of the income, and particularly the peoples who are malnourished or because of the TB become malnourished.
Okay.
The people who are suffering from HIV/AIDS, the people who are suffering from diabetes mellitus, the living condition in the very congested areas, the workplace condition when there is no enough ventilation. So I would like really to give this kind of the introductory to these discussions. And then definitely there are some signs and symptoms, and the people should know.
Right.
Fever, tiredness, night sweats. These are the things that really the people should be worried. And the most important issue is the cough.
Yeah.
Cough for more than 3 weeks should be considered. But the good news is that the TB is treatable.
Right.
If the 6 months continuation and without any interruption treatment continue.
Right.
And that is the issue, that really the people get the medicine, feeling that they are okay after 8 or 9 weeks, they leave the medicine, and unfortunately the disease is not going to be completely cured.
Right.
So it is important really to raise the community awareness about the tuberculosis.
Right.
And definitely then when times comes, we will say that how is the burden of disease in Pakistan.
Right, okay. Professor Ikram, now, we usually talk about TB affecting the lungs. Can it affect anything else as well?
Well, again, people should know. As I said earlier, it's an entity. It can involve any part of the body, may it be the meninges, coming down to gastrointestinal tract, the genitourinary tract, and lymph node, the pleura. So the problem with this disease, this organism, it can involve any part of the body.
Okay.
And that's how, at times it doesn't involve the lung and can involve the other parts, and that is the extrapulmonary tuberculosis.
Okay.
And now the modalities are again available for rapid diagnosis of that as well. It's only that, as Dr. Sai very rightly pointed out, the symptoms.
Yeah,
The patient has to report to the hospital,
Right.
to the near hospital, near facilities, and definitely we'll be talking about existing facilities as well during this program. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to let the masses know that the things are there.
Exactly.
And we have these facilities at the government level, at the public as well as private level, so we can facilitate them in all the regards.
Right. Would the symptoms be the same if it's involved in any other part of the body other than the lungs?
Well, certain symptoms remain the same as I said, that include the fever, the weight loss, the night sweats. But coming down, if it involves the lungs, definitely we have the cough, the expectoration, sputum coming out. At times there's blood in the sputum and things like that. But at times it becomes very difficult to pick up the extrapulmonary tuberculosis, for example, if it involves the lymph nodes only. So there's mild enlargement in the initial phases, or till the time patient notices those lymph nodes over the body, or maybe the patient develops symptoms of especially weight loss and malaise and low-grade fevers. And this is a very common complaint, and we did complete a project on this sometime back as well, that the patients coming down only with the lymph node involvements. So if it involves the brain, definitely we all know what sort of meningitis, commonly in our language, we call it as Gardan Tor Buhar. So that is the problem, and coming down to the genitourinary tract, if that is involved, definitely, then there are urinary symptoms as well.
Okay. Dr. Asai, what is the WHO doing in working in Pakistan to, number one, raise the awareness and then getting people to the right places?
Yeah. Well, the role of the WHO is really to facilitate prevention, diagnosis, management, and also reducing the stigma and discrimination. These I can really categorize in these areas.
Okay.
In a country like Pakistan, with high burden of tuberculosis, where every year we have about 500,000 deaths, people who are suffering from diarrhea, positive from tuberculosis, positive cases of the infected by the TB, and around 44,000 people died because of the TB. That needs really a special type of the service delivery. And we would like really, with the help of the Ministry of Health, to start a kind of the active case finding. Of course, for many years, WHO and Ministry of Health are working together in order to find the cases, to treat the cases, to improve the diagnostic capacities, to maintain the availability of the medicines. But this year, considering the importance of the high burden of the tuberculosis, we would like to go for active case finding.
Okay.
Active case finding means in the districts where we have the high prevalence of TB, we need to go really to mobilize the community for house-to-house diagnosis.
Okay.
And in addition, because of the interrelationship between hepatitis, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS. We are planning under the leadership of Brigadier Ikram to go ahead with the diagnosis of these three diseases together. So at one time, we can really identify the people who are suffering from these diseases.
Okay.
And once it is diagnosed, definitely in an active way, the diagnosed cases should be under treatment. As I mentioned, the continuity of the treatment is very much important. That's why the role of the community to make sure that this patient, whether within their household or in their neighborhood, are taking 6 months treatment is very much important. 6 months.
Okay.
And then also WHO should really facilitate a kind of the intersectoral collaboration. As I mentioned, the condition in the working area, condition at the congested places like prisons, like the hostels. This has to be really coordinated with different sectors in order to improve environmental health status and proper ventilation. The awareness building, again, is one of the issues. Awareness building not only among the community, but also for the policymakers.
Yeah.
Spending, investment in the tuberculosis is not expenditure. It's a kind of investment.
Of course.
Because treatment of a tuberculosis itself is a prevention.
Of course.
So that's why whatever government and the other partners allocate budget for control of the tuberculosis is a kind of investment. So we have also research activities, for example,
Right.
or capacity building among the nurses, doctors, those who are facing with the patients. These are some major activities that WHO is doing, and definitely we work very closely with the ministry, not only with the Federal Ministry of National Health Services Regulation and Coordination, but at the provincial level and at the
Right.
district level, we need really to continue working together in order to bring down the prevalence of the TB in Pakistan.
Fantastic.
I would
Okay.
like to add this to this.
Yeah.
I think we are extremely grateful to WHO country office for coordinating all such efforts in the country. And as we truly believe, I mean, we can fight such diseases with collaboration.
Yes.
In isolation, this is not possible. And right now, we are going hands in hand with all our partners, whether it's WHO or the Global Fund and all others, especially to mention these two, that as he just talked about picking up those missed cases, now that's
Right.
been a big dilemma for years. And alhamdulillah, we are launching in collaboration with WHO a process whereby we train the master trainers, and they will be guided how to pick up those additional cases which we are missing right now. And then, as you truly said, I mean, I would take this opportunity and thanking you especially for highlighting these things, that it's not only the government effort.
Yes.
It's not only, again, the private sector. It's a combination of everything, whether it's the NGOs, whether it's the teaching staff,
The civic
whether it's the
societies, right?
academia. They need to highlight these important issues.
course.
All the religious leaders in the mosques as well, telling them about the very basic things so that the message moves on and on.
And in fact, within the households as well, where you have, you have domestic help coming in and people working for you. Take some time, you're taking their services, take some time to sit down and actually educate them as well. If you see somebody with these symptoms, rather than, as we spoke about, the stigma and the myths behind it, that why does this person have a cough? Do something assertive about it, because everybody can make that contribution. You don't have to be sitting at the head of an organization to say that you matter, and only then you will be able to make a difference. Of course, everybody matters. The power of one is something that is so important, right? Brigadier Ikram, if you could tell us, NIH, what is it working? What facilities are available over there? And we're talking about the National TB Control Program as well.
I mean, a national institute level, I think, has got a very huge mandate, much beyond the infectious disease. We are responsible for surveillance of the whole country as far as the infectious disease is concerned. And not only that, the non-communicable diseases as well. So the time took over, we are promptly working on all these concerns. And I think best thing is the response of the ministry. They are very much dedicated to all these efforts.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, we have got excellent support from the minister, Mrs. Sara Abdul Taher herself, the secretary and all his staff. And we are promoting all sorts of things that can actually bring the things on one table. As far as the TB program is concerned, I would like to clear here that the government had 3 vertical programs. One of them was the TB, the biggest one. The second was HIV/AIDS, and the third one was malaria. What the government did some time back, I think it's again an excellent initiative taken them through the government, that they combined all the programs on one platform with the umbrella of common unit, and I was appointed as the national coordinator for that.
Okay.
And in that, not only the government programs for the TB, AIDS and malaria are there, but we have funding through the global fund as well. So a combination of these two are going together,
Right.
and we are trying to bring everything on one platform, and that's what the ministry has very kindly acceded to, that we requested them that we would like to integrate all the data for the vertical program as well into the national hub that we have almost done at the National Institute of Health. So bringing all the stakeholders under one platform, so we give the actual statistics to the government. For instance, I mean, as you just talked previously, I mean, if you talk of statistics in 2016, there were 10.4 million TB cases all over the world, with 1.7 million deaths. That's a huge number. Now coming down to Pakistan, where right now the incidence is about 268 per 100,000, which is a huge number, and the incident cases per year are almost 518,000. That's a huge again number.
Yes.
And now, not only that, as you talked of myth, the second attached to this is the multi-drug resistant bacteria. So they are coming up in a heavy toll.
Okay. Dr. Asai, how many of these deaths are preventable if they are tackled properly?
Well, I believe that, WHO believe that a large number of the death due to tuberculosis, not only death, but also the people who are suffering from the tuberculosis is preventable. And definitely if really we diagnose at the earliest stage,
Right.
and we provide, that treatment which is advised by the WHO,
Right.
complete treatment without any interruption, appropriate treatment, is really TB can be cured. The problem is that Professor Ikram mentioned about the 160,000 missed cases.
Yeah.
We are not aware whether these patients are missed or not. Maybe they are already under treatment by the private sectors. But what type of the treatment?
Right.
Is that treatment is the treatment that really WHO is providing based on the standards? Many of these people may be already treated by the traditional healers. So that's why we believe that the level of the awareness of the people to approach the right facility is very much important. Not really to stay for a long time and receive some treatment, which is not going to help to them.
Right.
So
They have to be
and
very
also-
clear in understanding that what
Exactly.
is the method of treatment,
Exactly.
and not just something that they can, just be happy with. Okay, we've got this diagnosed, we've started treatment, but they have to go on, because 6 months, half a year,
Yes.
a long
And
time.
Allow me also to add, because this is a program which is going to, on air. It's not only the matter of the responsibility of the health. The social sector, economic sector, they have some role. A patient who is suffering from tuberculosis not only needs treatment, he needs jobs,
Yeah.
he needs really education,
Yeah.
he needs security, he needs support from the community. Unfortunately, a stigma in our community, in our region. The people will think that, okay, that person is suffering from tuberculosis, so we should not go. No, the treatment has started and treatment is continued. He is like me and you. So we need really to work on this issue, on social support, economic support.
Right.
And as I mentioned, allocation of fund for tuberculosis is investment.
Of course.
We request really the government to, of course, the partners and global funds, WHO, many other organizations are interested to support government of Pakistan, but really the share of the government on these kind of diseases needs to be increased.
Right, okay. Professor Ikram, tell us, what test is done then to determine if a person has tuberculosis? And then, as Dr. Asai said, they'll start treatment. How long after starting treatment would they still be infectious?
All right. So I think very important question, very, very technical as well. But before that, I would also like to add a few more things that Pakistan right now stand at 5th position globally in having the number of TB cases.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite an explosion.
It is,
And
yes.
we are expecting, if you pick up all those missed cases or undiagnosed cases that are existing. And considering that the developing world is having 64% in the 7 countries, at the maximum starting from India, then Indonesia, then China, Philippines, and 5th number is Pakistan, followed by Nigeria and South Africa. Now, definitely, as highlighted, it's preventable. So we have to come up to that challenge primarily. Now, how we can, number one is the prevention, and number two is detecting the cases.
Yeah.
Well, the modalities are multifold now, starting from routine testing, if a patient is developing those symptoms, starting from the routine blood complete picture examination, moving on to specialized tests. If the patient is coughing, then the sputum is there. Now, we have the latest modalities whereby we have gone to the molecular level. And we can pick up through different tests, and one of the equipment that is available is Gene Expert, whereby we can perform the test, not only the picking up the bacterium itself, but side by side it also give resistance to one of the antimicrobial that is used is rifampicin. So I think this has been recommended by WHO, but the gold standard till today remains the culture. So if you've got the sputum or any other sample coming out, we perform the culture, because in that case we are able to grow the not only the bacterium, but side by side we can also get the sensitivity.
Exactly, which one is going to work.
Exactly.
Right.
And then there are other modalities like do we do histopathology, then there are certain tests like quantiferon TB gold, which have certain value in ourselves. We are reassessing that, but precisely the molecular level has gone so high, and we have all those modalities in the country right now.
Right. What about sensitizing doctors at the basic levels as well, to be on the lookout, actively on the lookout for these?
Right, very good. And previously, before I would also like to complete that thing that you said once the patient starts treatment, 2 weeks, if the treatment is proper and the organism is sensitive, 2 weeks, the patient becomes non-infectious. That thing is something very, very important. So we have to follow up. Now, precisely going into what the doctors say, actually right now there are 1,315 basic medical units working through NTP in different parts of the country.
Okay.
And up till today, we have got 120 gene experts, the molecular picking up equipment available at different centers in different districts. And inshallah, during this period, we'll upgrade to around 400 machines within the country. We've already procured them. So this is a very thing. Now, the thing is, we are trying to impart trainings not only to the public sector, but as well as private sector. As 1315, the public sector, but we have got our collaboration with different NGOs, with the private partners. If you say we have sensitized almost 2,000 pharmacists, 3,500 general practitioners, and around 35 private hospitals, and similarly other, as you truly said, as I mentioned, about not only the medical side but the non-medical side as well. So the things are being run in parallel so as to fight and pick up the menace at all the levels.
Fantastic. Dr. Said, tell us.
Sorry, if you allow me, I would like to add some issue.
Definitely.
The role of the private sector in Pakistan on many diseases, including tuberculosis, is very much important. Above 60% of the people prefer really to approach to the private sectors. Now, it is very much important that they notify and they inform the government about the number of the patients who they receive from the laboratory, the positive cases.
Absolutely.
So it should be compulsory.
Right.
The countries who could really control tuberculosis, it make it compulsory.
Right.
Even in some countries, I can give an example, that if the doctor is not notified the communicable disease, his license is going to be cancelled. To that extent.
A huge punishment.
It should be like that. It should be like that. So I'm sitting in my clinic. I receive positive cases of the TB. I have to inform the government.
Okay.
Because, first of all, there should be a follow-up system. There should be recording and reporting. There may be some other tests. For example, you know, the relationship between tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS. A person suffering from the HIV/AIDS, because of a low immunity, he or she is more susceptible, 16 to 27 times more really is susceptible to get the tuberculosis, and vice versa. When a patient suffering from tuberculosis, he or she really get faster the HIV/AIDS.
Right,
So
they're more vulnerable.
And then the issue of the follow-up.
Which is very
Follow-up
important.
of these patients to ensure that they are getting the medicines and using the medicines based on the standards which WHO propose.
Right.
So we are not sure that the patients who are really receiving treatment from the private sectors are really receiving
Going through the
properly
proper
or not.
treatment. Right, okay. So Professor Graham, to throw the ball in your court, then how do you ensure
Well,
that?
I think this was one of the biggest challenges once I joined NIH. And Alhamdulillah, what we have done for the last 6 months, we have made the Public Health Act draft.
Right.
It is soon going to be in the ministry, inshallah. And we have already taken WHO and other partners on board as well. And that's why I said that we've already taken this permission that all the data should be integrated into the National Institute of Health. So that helps in the policy making of the government. We also at NIH have the advisory role. Maybe I take it as fortunate that I have also given the dual role of being the national coordinator for this huge program. So we are trying to consolidate so that we don't duplicate the sources.
Right.
Now we have certain sources under the Global Fund and others are functional under the NIH. We are trying to integrate them. And based upon that, what we have prepared a draft for the Public Health Act, unfortunately, which has not been there. And the minister is all out for it. Soon it will be deposited. And that makes every data mandatory for coming down to National Institute of Health, inshallah. And that will help facilitate Dr. Asai's concern. And it's not only the WHO, it's our own concern, as we say. And we have to perceive with very open mind all those things and all those challenges and related to that. So that's how we are working, and inshallah will be done shortly.
Right. Who's more at risk? Who are the more vulnerable? Like, you know, you said at the beginning that it's a disease usually associated with poverty. But, you know, if we move outside that circle, who else is at risk here?
Well, in our society, definitely there is a lot of poverty and malnourishment is already there. I would say, especially the female sector, have been serving in different parts of the country. We know, I mean, males by virtue, definitely they do report to the hospitals, but unfortunately there is a trend that females remain confined to. So beside poverty, the malnourishment associated with poverty, and then the overcrowding, as already pointed out, there are certain areas which are very vulnerable, like prisons. So we have to conduct studies on all those. We have to come up with the plans whereby we assess all the prisoners on regular basis, so that, because if one case is infected, in a year's time, he or she is going to infect at least 10 to 15 cases, which is an enormous number. So we have to break that chain. That's what is to be done through all the education and awareness and taking into loop all the public and private sector together.
Right.
And in addition, risk of developing tuberculosis among the people who are suffering from HIV/AIDS is 16 to 27 times more than the people who are not suffering from HIV/AIDS.
Right.
So we have, that's why we really are trying really to integrate HIV/AIDS testing and also testing for the tuberculosis.
Right.
Because the interventions is really more or less towards, you know, social support, reducing the stigma, follow-up. These are more or less same.
Right. And when we talk about mindset, because many things, you know, are controlled, our behavior, the way we live, the way we carry out our, you know, daily life activities, the priorities we set, they are mainly, you know, notions that we have inculcated in our mind, and they will force us to act in a certain way. How do we make Pakistanis especially more assertive when it comes to matters of health, and make them, you know, make them seek the problem before the problem comes to them? How do you do that?
Yeah. I think you're truly right. I think I would start from the place that, well, government has a way of health system throughout the country. Even after devolution, the provinces have picking up the challenge. They have got to own their primary, secondary and tertiary care systems available to them. I think it's just giving the message to the masses, and I would request that I think we need to have more programs through your courtesy in future and in our own language as well, so the message goes to the masses. And I mean, right now, for instance, there was some time back there was a meeting, and I was telling them, I mean, there's something in the curricula. Why not we put in some bullets, something like about TB, AIDS, so the children that they start getting awareness from the very beginning. That these are the things which are preventable, and how can they work out? I mean, starting from the basics at the basic level, rather than coming down after the vaccination, we forget about all those challenges. To start with, this EPI program, we do vaccinate the infants, and later on, it does protect to a certain extent, but these things are being followed in the developing country. The developed world is not using those vaccines anymore. So with all that, I think we have to raise the awareness, the picking up of the cases, reporting to the hospital in case of any symptoms, if remain diagnosed. And there's another problem, as very rightly, the people confiding to the hakims and homeopath. Well, I have no doubt about their integrity. They are doing a wonderful job in a country like Pakistan. But TB is a disease which unfortunately has to be resorted to very technical experts
and sort of like on a war footing as well. So we'll get back to the program. Lots of discussions taking place right now. We're going for a break. Do not change the channel. Okay, welcome back to the program. A really, really important program today. We are commemorating World TB Day and understanding, you know, the myths and the facts behind this and what actually can be done. There is help. There's a lot that you can do. For that, you know, our experts have been wonderful in the studio today. We've had so much information from them. So, Professor Brigadier Ikram, please tell us, you know, what is the government's role? What's the government doing?
Right. I think this is something very important which the masses should know. The government is very serious about this because this year in the World Health Assembly, by the end of this year, there are going to be huge talks about what the countries have done. And the seriousness can be gauged that the government is, as I told you earlier, a former common unit. And we are trying to revamp all the situation. We are trying to address all the human resource issues. The fundings that are available should be utilized in a way so that they become much more meaningful. And we come down to the level where we can trace out the cases even. Well, the top of the line is the free of cost treatment available, not only for the routine tuberculosis, but we have got the menace of multi-drug resistance as well. Just to give you the statistics that during 2016, more than 366,000 were treated, out of which the success treatment rate was more than 93%, which was a great achievement. And similarly, for the multi-drug resistance, it crosses around 63%. So I think with all those statistics, if we put the things together, the public and the private sector, I think we can do a lot. And inshallah, we are on the job. We are very serious about the government concerns are very much there. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to incorporate the new systems, methodologies, including the computerized systems into it as well. We are working on DHIS2, and right now there's a training going on with our partners, international collaborators at NIH for the time being, and we are training them to come come up with the latest challenges and latest gadgets and modalities in this regard. And then we have got the government is also now addressing the issues of having their own warehouses. The projects have been approved whereby we're going to keep all stores over there so that we supply in time. And all these drugs through Global Fund, they are imported and they are available free of the cost at the doorstep. So, and right now the government has already prepared a strategy from 2017 to 2016 to 18, whereby which aligns with the WHO Stop TB strategy as well. And internationally, the standard and the hallmark is that by 2025 we have to decrease the disease burden by 90% and the death rate by 95%. So, with all that, the government is purely very serious about all the concerns and eliminating those challenges that are coming all the way, and we are putting all the things together so that we provide the treatment to everyone in the country.
Right. And what are the main challenges, you know, the biggest challenges that you come across?
Well, I think the biggest challenges was integration between the public and private sector that is being addressed right now to this common unit and bringing all the stakeholders on one platform and making them accountable and getting the feedback and data from all this. So that was the biggest challenge, and alhamdulillah we have very successfully overcome that, and we in the process of making it a much more formidable system for future.
Right, great. Dr. Asai, as we were, you know, speaking before we were before the program, before we went to the break, how do we make a health-aware nation? How does the media play a role?
It's a very good question, and it goes back to the culture and level of the awareness of the people. Well, I would like really to highlight the importance of the level of the awareness of the school-age children on different health-related issues.
Absolutely.
Has to be increased. Because changing my habit and your habit at this age is not very easy. I'm not saying that we should stop awareness building of all the people, adults, you know, but if you want to really achieve to change the level of the future nation, how they look to the health, we have to focus on school health.
Right.
And we should have really a school health program.
Right, true.
And I believe that the media should have a key role on this issue.
Right.
You know, there are countries in our region which really some channels are devoted specifically for the health.
Absolutely.
In the cartoons, in stories, in sports, in even this kind of the debates. The whole 8 hours, 9 hours program is related to the health.
Imagine.
And there is a quite, you know, close collaboration between health department and media. So media is investing on health-related issues.
Absolutely. Okay, Dr. Saib, because unfortunately we're running out of time for the program, and I've been told to, you know, wind up. What's your message for the people who are watching this program?
Well, I would like really, considering the importance of the slogan of the tuberculosis this year, World TB Day, that we would like really to have a strong government commitment, inshallah, to reach Pakistan, end TB in Pakistan. That is the first one.
Right.
The second thing, we need really to encourage the community to be actively engaged.
Yes.
On prevention, on early diagnosis, on follow-up, and assisting the government in order to ensure that the people who are diagnosed positive are receiving the services. And finally, we have to focus and give the priority to access of the poor to the services.
Absolutely.
Because they are more vulnerable.
Of course.
And they should really put at the top of the agenda for any kind of the diseases, particularly tuberculosis.
Right. Professor Amikram, your message for the viewers
first of all,
today.
I'm extremely grateful to Pakistan Television, I think, providing this opportunity, and in particular, Shabnam, to you. I think this is where we start, and I think we need to move on. The message for the masses is the government commitment is very much there. The government is very positive. They want to ensure that we should eliminate, and we are on the job in eliminating this menace from the society. It's a very much preventable diseases. For you, it's just that everything doesn't rest on the government. Together we have to sail. That's the main message, that you join hands with the government. You can come up within your family, your social network, you find someone, take them to the concerned hospital. The facilities are there, they're free of cost. make sure that they get the proper treatment for the proper duration as well. And then moving on to so many, start developing healthy activities within yourself. I mean, one of the things that is lacking is really we are very bad at regular exercise. I would not stress on the diet because truly understand the amount of nourishment that we can get for the masses. But again, at least the exercise and healthy activities are in our hands. So please do that. Take the symptom people to the respective hospital, get them treated, and together we have to do it. So that's the main message. We have to sail it together. Thank you so much.
And it is doable. That's the main thing. So, Professor Ikram, Dr. Asai, thank you very much for being such valued guests today on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we come to the end of today's program. You've heard that message, the message there on World TB Day. Nothing is such a big problem that you can't solve it. All we need is the will and everyone working together. So until next week, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye-bye.